Welcome back to this lesson. What we're going to be doing here in this video is we're going to work on understanding the interaction between the tabs that the user lands on the interface, as well and the image views that we have within our grid layout. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go. Let me first show you the current stats that we have. Basically, it is where we left off in the previous lesson, so nothing should be different. It's exactly where we used to be. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go on to my basically tile maker method. In here, I'm going to find this part. Before we add the image tile to any of our array or the layout, grid layout, I'm gonna say image tile dot set on touch listener. This. Now we have to add this. We have to implement this. Let's see the suggestion that it has. It's saying that you can cast it to Android View Ion Touch Listener, but I'm actually going to implement that as a subclass for main activity. So I'm going to say in here activity, then view dot ion touch listener. All right, and I need the Android views, I guess, and then I need the, and then he's asking to implement the interface. He's saying you never implemented the on touch, which something we should do, and we just did it. It just did it for me. So now at the end we should have this one. Excellent, on touch. So basically what we are saying is we are saying every one of these image tiles, they have a touch listener in case they have been touched, and if they are touched, we come here, which is our on touch, and this is where we decide about a number of things. So let's go ahead and start doing this. I'm gonna say the first thing I want to do in here is this. I want to say, and because it's a Boolean, you probably want to just, return true at the very end, just so that it doesn't, scream about the return type of the method. So what I'm going to do is very simple. First thing is I'm going to go ahead and say if, and what I want to do is say tiles array dot contains. What does it contain? It contains the image view of V. V is basically this guy. All right. I'm simply saying if whatever we have tapped on is a member of our tiles array, simply because we only care about these 16 guys. Anywhere else you tapped, it doesn't matter. All right. Even if they have touch listeners. So that's the first thing. So only if we tapped on one of these guys, then I'm gonna say, if you ever did iOS development, this should be very simple, very familiar in your mind. I'm gonna say e.action if it is equal to motion event actions dot up. So basically, the moment we let go of our tap, or in iOS term, in touch up inside. So one more time, on touch, I'm gonna say if you have touched one of the tiles and if you removed your tap, the moment you did basically the touch up inside. All right, let's go ahead and say image view. I'm going to get access to this image view. This is the one that we have just tapped on. Equals to image view of v. So whatever image view, whatever of these blocks that we have tapped on, that's the first thing that we need to do. The next thing that we need to do is we need to show the image that is under it. So we need to find the index of this image view and then find the index of the image that should be shown on it. Let me write that down in here to make it more understandable. So the objects in our tiles array, they go from, let me get myself a bit more space, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And then these same group of guys, images array, they have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright? So basically, if it turns out that this image view, the one that you have tapped on, is the element number 10 in the tiles array, we should see the image number 2. If it is number 13, we should see the image number 5. If it is number 4, we should see the image number 4. Simply because there is 2 copies of the images within the tiles. So I'm gonna say integer index of, let's call it tile, is tiles block. So tiles, what did I call it? Tiles array dot index of, and the index is this image view. All right. Then I'm gonna say if index of tile is larger than or equal 8, which is grid size multiplied by grid size divided by 2. If this is the case, what you want to do is this. You want to say there is another integer index of image. So basically this index of image is index of tile minus grid size multiplied by grid size divided by 2. So basically, if this number is one of the larger ones, subtract 1/2 from it. So 8 minus 8 becomes 0, 9 minus 8 becomes 1, 10 minus 8 becomes 2, 14 minus 8 becomes 16, so on and so forth. And else index of image becomes index of tile. If it is not larger, if it is one of these guys, then they're just equal to each other. So now we got the index of the image that we want to show. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to say, and we have done this before today, I'm going to say a string name of the image. Let's say it is called images array index of image as string. That's that. So we got the name that we want to show, and I'm gonna say integer resource ID here is resources dot get identifier, and the identifier is name of the image. We've done all of these today, drawable and package name. Excellent, and that's very, very simple. Finally, this image view dot set image resource is resource ID. So off the top, we go to our tile maker method. we say each of these image tiles, they have an untouched listener. We use that as an implementation for our main activity. Then in the untouched, we say if whatever you have tapped on or touched on is a member of the tiles array, get that tile, this image view, let's call it this tile actually, because it makes more sense. All right, this tile is whichever that we have tapped on, and then index of the tile is the tiles array index of this tile, and then there is an index of the image because the images are repeated. If the index of the tile is larger than or equal the half, so basically these guys, we subtract the half from that index. So 10 minus 8, 11 minus 8, so on and so forth, and we make that the index of the image. Otherwise, just the index of the image. Then we get the name of the image, which is in the images array. We look at this index, and we get the resource ID, and we apply that based on the name we got from the drawbars and within this package, and we apply it to the image resource of this particular tile. Let's see how it works by now. One, two, excellent. 3, 4, 5, 6, so on and so forth. So now before I jump into the next level of this code, I want you to understand something. If we come here, and the reset buttons are working perfectly as well, if I click for the first time, nothing should happen. We should reveal the image. If I click for the second time, it should compare the first one to the second one and decide if they are similar or not. And based on that, decide what is going to do. So let's work on that. So we said if it is the first time, you don't do anything. If it is the second time, you do something. Let's call the second time the compare state. So at the beginning, we are not at the compare state. And then once we have landed one touch, we have become in the compare state. So I'm going to go here into my variables. I'm going to say Boolean, and Boolean, I'm going to call it compare state, which is false at the very beginning. We are not in the compare state. I'm also going to add two image views. Image view, let's call this one image view 1, and image view 2. So when we land the touch and once we show everything, we're gonna say this. We're gonna say if we are in compare state, if we are here, then we should do something. We should basically compare the two images. Else, if we are not there, we should obviously do something else. We shouldn't compare the two of them. But I'm going to write some comments. This is the second touch. This is the first touch. So if this is the first touch, img view 1 becomes this tile. And if this is the second time, img view 2 becomes this tile. So we got access to these two image views. We understand which one is which, And now what we want to do is we want to actually compare the two of them to understand if by any chance they are similar or not. Now, before I make this a bit more complex and add some extra stuff to it, I actually want to make it do the same thing but in a much easier way. All right, and here's what I want to do. I want to say in the compare state, by now image view 2 is clear and image view 1 is clear. All right, so we want to compare. This is very important. This is the logic in which this game is actually being played. We want to find out where are the two image views on our tiles array. So let's say you have tapped on someone who is number 3 and someone who is number 10. These two are not similar because the image inside them is not similar. But let's say you have tapped on number 2 and you have also tapped on number 10. These two are similar because the image on them is similar. So basically what we have to do is at each point, and this is exactly how we're going to do it soon, at each point we have to find the distance between the two images that we have tapped. If this distance or this distance or this distance, if this distance is identical to half of our grid, it means they are similar. They're identical. If it's not, then they are not. Let's see how we're gonna write that down. I'm gonna say, let's have an integer. I'm gonna say integer distance that we want is grid size multiplied by grid size divided by 2. So if the distance between two of them is 8, in this case, is exactly what we wanted. Great. So we got that part covered. Then we're gonna say integer this distance is equal to, and what is this distance? This distance is gonna be tiles array index of image view 1 minus tiles array dot index of image view 2. All right, then I'm gonna say if this distance equals dist, this is where they are identical, else they are different. All right, so by now the only thing that you have to keep in mind is there is a chance, it's a very good chance, that you select 2 and then 10. 2 minus 10 becomes minus 8. So we basically need the absolute value here. So math dot absolute value of this. So we got that. And we are good. So what we're gonna be doing is this. We're gonna say if they are identical, for now, image view 1 dot alpha becomes 0 and image view 2 dot alpha becomes 0. So they both basically disappear, vanish. And if they are different, what we're gonna be doing is this. We're gonna be saying image view 1 dot set image resource is basically resources dot get identifier, and the identifier that I want is no image, and drawbell and package name. Okay, copy, paste, and this is image view 2. Now the only problem we will have right now is the moment we tap on the second one without us even noticing it, if they are not similar, they will disappear. It's not going to give us any time to be able to see what's going on. It's going to happen basically in a split second. Let's go ahead and see how this thing works anyway. Okay. Horse. And they are not similar and nothing happened. Okay, I tell you why nothing happened, even though I expected something to happen, is because the compare state is always false in here. All right, let's go ahead and fix that. So we do that by saying if compare state is true, then when we are going out, compare state becomes false. If compare state is false, when we are going out, compare state becomes true. So basically in the else it becomes true, in the if it becomes false. Let's go ahead and we go back to here. One, and they are obviously not similar. They are not similar. I'm just hoping that I randomly find something that is similar. Okay, I know the horse is here and there, and they both disappeared, just like how we expected that to happen. Excellent. So I'm going to keep it up to here. In the next lesson, I'm going to do a proper comparison, and I write everything that we need to do the comparison the right way.